Coming up on Hoosier Sports Nite, Indiana looked to take down Purdue for the third straight time. We bring you the details from the whiteout at Assembly Hall.
And men's and women's tennis kicked off the start of their spring seasons. We'll bring you the rundown of how both teams fared at home. This is Hoosier Sports Nite. Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Nite. I'm Madelynn Denny.
And I'm Sam Heuser. We're talking about sports usually. Let's talk about how cold it is outside.
I know, I wore 5 layers into the studio today.
Snowing, it's 5 degrees, you're wearing 5 layers. 5 men on a basketball court. Let's talk about Indiana men's basketball. So Indiana men's basketball took on Purdue on Tuesday night, but Assembly Hall did not have the same magic it had the last 2 years. Our Josh Bodie has more on the rivalry game.
Purdue took down Indiana in dominating fashion, beating the Hoosiers 87-66. It got away from Indiana quickly, with Purdue building a 22-point first-half lead.
Well, we got smacked the first half, and you got to give them credit. I thought they were more tougher. Yeah, there were a lot of fouls called, against us, but they set the tone.
Zach Edey was once again masterful against the Hoosiers. Indiana had few answers for the reigning National Player of the Year, who picked up 33 points and 14 boards.
I got to get my 2 big guys a little more tougher. That'll help. And I didn't think Ware, played tough enough, and Edey kind of had his way. So we got to work on that.
Mackenzie Mbako and Khalil Ware both picked up 2 fouls early and were benched for the rest of the first half. But after the game, Mike Woodson is questioning that decision.
It's kind of like the next man up, and I probably should have played not Ware, but Mac a little bit more, even with the 2 fouls, but I elected not to do that.
Indiana got some good looks in the first half to keep themselves in the game, but it came down to shot making.
There were about 7, 8 wide open shots that we didn't make. And, those are empty possessions that you leave on the table.
Indiana cut the lead to 9 after coming out hot in the second half, but the momentum fizzled quickly. Indiana will retake the hardwood on Friday at Wisconsin. From Assembly Hall, I'm Josh Bodie, IUSTV Sports.
After the loss, Indiana falls to 4-3 in Big Ten play. The Hoosiers are looking to snap an over 25-year-long streak on Friday. They have not won at the Kohl Center since 1998.
Number 21, Indiana Wrestling traveled to State College to take on number 1, Penn State. The Hoosiers lost the dual meet by a score of 46-0. Michael Spangler, at 125 pounds, lost a major decision of 16-3. At the 141-pound class, number 23, Dan Fungaro, lost 8-1 to second-ranked Bo Barlett. The next weight class had number 14, Graham Brooks, drop the match 15-0. Near the meet's end, Gabe Stollers, at 197 pounds, was defeated by number 1 ranked Aaron Brooks, 19-4. That was followed by Nick Willem at heavyweight, losing 13-2 against number 1 Greg Kirk-Villette. Indiana's next match is against the 21st ranked Maryland Terrapins next Sunday, January 21st at 2 p.m. Make sure to follow along Adam Oppenheim and Quincy Caulfield for all things IU wrestling.
IU women's tennis had their season opener against Butler and Bellarmine this week. IUSTV beat reporter Haley Adams has the recap.
When I say IU, you say Hoosiers! IU! Hoosiers! We're going 3, 1, 2, 3! Hoosiers!
IU women's tennis started their spring season on Monday. They faced off against Butler and Bellarmine all in the same day. The spirits were high for the Hoosiers as this day was a winner, and they were ready to start a winning streak.
I'm really happy that I won both. It was the first match of the season, so I was honestly pretty nervous, but it's a good win. It's a good win to get out of the belt for the first time, and I'm just super happy about it.
5 out of 9 players are freshmen on the roster this season, making their match a must-see event for Hoosier fans. And the IU women's tennis team was cheered on by many supporters this Monday.
It's really nice to have team. It is the first match of the season, so I didn't experience that before, but it for sure helped me to win.
The Hoosiers won multiple tiebreakers during their match, showing that they are here to win, making this match a special day for their team.
Really, really special that we got to be able to win against Bellarmine as our second match. So very happy overall for the day, and I think we have a lot to things that we need to work on, but excited about the win.
IU women's tennis team starts their season off strong with a win against Butler, 7-0, and a win against Bellarmine, 5-2. They wish to continue their winning streak next Sunday, going against Western Michigan and Chicago State, starting at 11 a.m. That's all for this week. I'm Haley Adams for IUSTV Sports. Back to you guys at the desk.
Coming up after the break, we crown our Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And women's basketball faced off against Minnesota at Assembly Hall. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Now joining us in the studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight is our very own Ben Haller. Ben?
Thanks, guys. Sam Landau is this week's Hoosier Highlight athlete. After a spectacular freshman season where he went 13-4 in singles and 10 doubles wins in the spring, he carried it into his sophomore season with a deep playoff run just this fall. The former five-star recruit continued it January 13th in a match against Toledo. Landau defeated ranked player Marco Gallic 6-4. This win was not only outstanding for his first match on Court 1, but it also clinched the Hoosiers the overall win in the matchup. That's all for this week's Hoosier Highlight athlete. Back to you guys at the desk.
Indiana women's basketball bounced back from Iowa with a home victory against Minnesota last night. Our Joe Brennan has more on the win.
Terry Morin and the Hoosiers bounce back yet again in another get-right game, taking down the Golden Gophers of Minnesota 85-62. Tonight's victory succeeded the 27-point loss the Hoosiers suffered in Iowa City this past week. But tonight, both players and coaches showcased that isn't their status quo.
We got to move on. Game after game, they're going to just keep coming, and we have to be ready. So we have to learn from the Iowa game, but we can't let it affect us for the next game and let it become a snowball effect. And I think we have a really mature group, so I think we did a really good job of that tonight.
Mackenzie Holmes led the way for the Hoosiers with 32 points on 15 of 17 shooting from the floor. On the defensive end, her presence was felt all night long, constantly disrupting shots and forcing errors. She finishes the night with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Against her former team from her home state, Sarah Scalia left an impact on tonight's game as well with 22 points. Her and Sydney Parrish combined for 10 threes, both scoring 5 apiece. Winning the battle on the glass, the turnover margin, and phenomenal defense throughout the night left Terry Morin and her players much more content than the last game.
Performances like we had the other night at Iowa, the best remedy for that is to get back on the floor as quickly as you can. And, you know, I like I said, I liked their focus. I liked how they came out today and executed.
The Hoosiers will look to carry their momentum into next game when they travel to West Lafayette this Sunday to face off against the Boilermakers. For IUSTV Sports, I'm Joe Brennan.
The IU track and field team traveled to Nashville, Tennessee this weekend to compete in the Commodore Challenge at Vanderbilt. Highlights from this weekend include the Hoosiers finishing with 2 event victories and 11 personal bests from the team. This included Paula Fernandez-Sola, who finished 5th in the long jump competition with a personal best of the mark of 5.97 meters. For meter races, Maddie Russin won her event in the 600-meter race with a finishing time of 1:32.13. On Saturday, sprinter Kenesha Phillips broke a 22-year-old school-wide record in the 400-meter race with a time of 52.37. The Hoosiers will be back in Bloomington, Indiana for the Indiana Invitational taking place this weekend.
Indiana men's tennis opened their season on Sunday against Dayton and Toledo at the IU Tennis Center. Our Zeke Shapiro has more on the opening matches.
Just as they did last year, Indiana men's tennis opened up their spring season with 2 matches against Dayton and Toledo. After losing 3 starters in the offseason, there were plenty of fresh faces in the Hoosiers lineup, and they certainly didn't disappoint. Despite the matches finishing 5-2, the Hoosiers had plenty to work for as there were several 3-set matches and plenty of tiebreakers, but in the end, the Hoosiers' experience and talent got them through it.
Yeah, no, it was great to be out there and feel pressure again and play competitive matches. You know, you practice so much and prepare for this.
Sophomore Sam Landau built upon his impressive freshman year, winning both of his matches.
Feel great. Morning, started out great in doubles. Singles right afterwards, got a ranked win. Great start to the season, trying to make NCAA singles, and good start team-wise. I mean, second one was tough and able to get through it. Good for the guys. Let's keep rolling.
It was good energy, and I think that's important. I think we have good experience, but at the same time, we have guys that are fresh and hungry to prove themselves.
The Hoosiers will hit the road for next match as they will travel to Memphis, Tennessee next weekend to take on the Memphis Tigers. For IUSTV Sports, I'm Zeke Shapiro.
The Hoosiers will look to keep their hot start going as they hit the road to take on the Memphis Tigers in Tennessee on Sunday. Now joining us for this week's Candy Stripe Calendar report is Andrew Gus. Andrew?
Thanks, Madelynn. There is plenty to cover for Indiana athletics this weekend, so let's get right into it. To kick off the weekend, track and field will host the Indiana Invitational here in Bloomington on Friday. Men's and women's swim and dive will take on Michigan and Ann Arbor in a dual meet. Men's basketball will close out the night on the road versus number 11 Wisconsin at 8:30 p.m. And to close out the week on Sunday, men's tennis will face Memphis on the road at 1 p.m. Women's basketball will tip off in Mackey Arena against the Purdue Boilermakers, and wrestling will host the number 21 Maryland, both at 2 p.m. That's all for this week in Hoosier Athletics. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, and that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports to keep up with all the latest in IU athletics. For our production crew behind us, I'm Sam Heuser.
And I'm Madelynn Denny. We'll see you next week.